Hello YouTube, welcome to the first video of Bands 50, or whatever I call this in the future. Thank you for tuning in. Probably either one of my friends about to troll the shit out of me, or a family member, or some random ass motherfucker just scrolling across the video. Thank you for tuning in, and today's video would be what I would do if I was the GM of the Chicago Bears, or Da Bears. First, I'd be cutting the cancer, like we did 2 weeks ago. Cutting Cody Whitehair, cutting Eddie Jackson. Contracts are just not they're not worth what production was, what was happening. Then I'm going to figure out whether Velus Jones is usable or waiver. I think he is usable. He's top 5 in kick return yards. He's top 3 in yards averaged. I think he had 27 kick returns, so had 435 yards. Pretty damn good. And then I'm going to evaluate Braxton Jones. I'm going to figure out whether I either this season in the draft, I wouldn't go through free agency to get a left tackle this season. I'm going to figure out whether I draft or I try to trade Braxton Jones and see if he can actually work out. He is a little worse against the bull rush, but other than that, for this third-year left tackle, I think he's pretty good. Top needs: center, edge rusher, free safety, wide receiver 2, veteran D-tackle, right guard, competition, tight end depth. I would actually move tight end depth a little bit higher due to Shane Waldron's system and how he'd run it. He runs a 13 and a 12 system, which means 2 to 3 tight ends out there at all times. Runs kind of a weird L-shaped in the backfield. I'd kind of move tight end depth a little bit higher than right guard competition, but I still, these are some of the top needs. First, we're going to look at free agent centers. Got Andre James, Lloyd Cushenberry, Tyler Biadasz, and Evan Brown. I only have Evan Brown on there only because he played with Shane Waldron. Don't think we'll get him. He's older than everybody on this list. Yes, he's the cheapest, but there's a reason for that. His production is terrible. And then you have a draft option, Jackson Powers Johnson. I would not even be touching a center after him. If you actually want a reliable center to use in the draft, the only one where I think someone just comes in and just starts dominating and will automatically start is Jackson Powers Johnson. Out of these free agent centers, and the only one I didn't name is Connor Williams because I think the Miami Dolphins will stick to him, but he did tear his ACL, so there's a little concern around that. He'll be probably around $7 million. Out of all these, I'd probably go with Tyler Biadasz. Played in Dallas, great production in Dallas. Like Lloyd Cushenberry, but his history does concern me. He had a really good year last year, but in the past he hasn't. Tyler Biadasz has just been consistently a good reliable center. Free agents, you got Brian Burns, Josh Allen, Danielle Hunter. Brian Burns is most likely going to get tagged or they're going to get a deal done. I don't think they'll get a deal done, so they'll probably tag him and he'll be available next year. Then he's going to be 27. He has so much value at being 26 that he's worth $16 million. Some top edge rusher money. Josh Allen, I see them getting a deal. The only person where I do see them not getting a deal from the Vikings and moving on is Danielle Hunter. $10 million, unrestricted, played 9 years, seasoned veteran, really good. You put him across from Montez Sweat, you have trouble. Draftees, I mean, it's Dallas Turner, Latu, and Jared Verse. The only one where I'd see us drafting is Dallas Turner at 9, unless we move back and possibly get Jared Verse. Latu's great, but I see somebody else going after him before the Bears can get him. Then you got free agents: Geno Stone, Xavier McKinney, and Jordan Fuller. Best one I like out of this is Geno Stone because of his contract and the way he's played. He played in Baltimore, which runs a three safety system. He was kind of that center field safety that they stuck back there, and he was just kind of the ball hawk. Had a career high in interceptions this year. He's going to be playing that Eddie Jackson role in that Matt Eberflus defense, and I like him really there. I'd preferably get a veteran or somebody who's played in the NFL, have a little bit of leadership, because if you look at Jaquan Brisker, all he talks about is how he loved how Eddie Jackson was a leader, and it's a suck not playing with a guy like Eddie Jackson. So I think you ought to get him. You save a little money instead of paying Xavier McKinney. Somebody will pay him $8 to $10 million. They'll pay Jordan Fuller. I like Jordan Fuller, but he's more of a run support free safety. Kind of more of a hard hitter. I like the way Eddie Jackson played in our defense. Pay Geno Stone $5 to $6 million. He's young. He's 25. Pay the man. But if we don't have to pay him, there's only really 3 that I like. I put Kalen Bullock on here in case he drifts into the 3rd, 4th round and we're able to get him. But other than that, I don't see us getting Tyler Newman because he's a high 2-round, late 1st round maybe, depending on how he does at Combine. Highest PPF grade on here. Cameron Kitchens is the lowest. The reason I have him up here is he's a turnover machine. Bears were tied for 1st in turnovers this year. You add Cameron Kitchens to that, a turnover machine. That's just a dangerous defense. The one thing I do worry about is he gives up a lot of deep balls. He'll bite on the double moves. And in the NFL, that's just not going to fly. I think if you let him play, if you teach him to play a little more conservative, he'll be a bit better. Just like Jordan Fuller, Javon Bullard is kind of more of a run support safety. He does do well at the free safety spot and deep coverage, but he really excels when it comes to run support. So I do see us drafting Javon Bullard. He's a heavy-hitting safety, but if one of these 2 guys are sitting here, I don't see it. And you got wide receivers. Personally, there's only one person in mind when I come to a want. Now, we're sitting at 1 and 9, and the only way we really get him is if we either draft him at 1 or trade back. And those are really hard to see right now. Or we trade up. But Marvin Harrison is just straight up generational. 6'4", great frame, great speed. He's not running at the Combine, not doing any physicals. He's only interviewing. But, you just need to run the tape to get all you know. Straight up generational receiver. He's going to dominate the NFL. And you got Roman Dunze, just a red zone machine. Over at Washington, I think he had a drop. I think he only had 2 drops his entire career. Bro does not drop the ball. Great receiver. Somebody said he's kind of more of a bigger DJ Moore. That's kind of crazy. Imagine having 2 of those on your team. He had, he's drawing comparisons to D-Hop. I don't know about the 50-50 ball, but contested catching, absolutely. Elite Neighbors is killer speed with frame. 6'3" frame. If he runs to the Combine, I expect 4.4 speed. Like, right out the gate. He's drawing comparisons to Jamar Chase. I don't see how he could live up to that, but I think he can. I personally don't see it. But I think he's a great receiver. He'll be really good. And we got free agents, Calvin Ridley, Michael Pittman. I see Michael Pittman either getting tagged or getting a deal. Gabe Davis, 6'2", deep threat, 24, young, really good. Honestly, I see him getting a deal in Buffalo. I don't see him really going anywhere else unless somebody pays him too much money, like what the Jags did, Christian Kirk. And then Curtis Samuel, Kendrick Bourne. The only 2 that I really see the Bears going after is either Calvin Ridley, unless he doesn't get a deal done or gets tagged, or Curtis Samuel, because Curtis Samuel played with DJ Moore, and him and DJ Moore are really good friends. Curtis Samuel would be a great 3 to add if we do add one of these 3 receivers to the left. Just because he's a slot gadget guy. It's kind of what Darnell Mooney was supposed to be, but we had a terrible, terrible offensive coordinator. You got Kendrick Bourne, 6'1", clutch. When you just throw it up, you got to know Kendrick Bourne's coming down with it. He's not the fastest, but personally, if I were to take 2, I'm taking Curtis Samuel and MHJ. And then pay the damn man. Pay him his money. Deals are inching closer, but the closer we get to free agency. Send him a blank check, or either tag him. Do something. Just get this over with. I'm sick of waiting. I've been waiting since October for a deal to be done, so pay the man. And then we need depth. You got veteran D tackles like Chris Jones, Fletcher Cox, and Quan Jones. Chiefs just tagged L'Jarius Sneed, and I think that was 16 to 17 million, somewhere in that range. I don't know whether they're going to pay Chris Jones. That's a lot of money, and they got a lot of positions to pay, especially at line. You got Tyler Davis's contract coming up. You got to pay Creed Humphrey. You got to pay Jawan Taylor, who you brought over from Jacksonville. Nick Bolton. I mean, you just go down the list. Kansas City's stacked. They got some studs coming, and you're gonna have to pay them. And you got to figure out whether at Chris Jones at 34 years old has peaked, and it's time to move on and go through the draft and try to find another one of them. Which you never will. You don't find guys like Chris Jones very often. But do you kind of try to replace him through the draft, or do you pay him? I don't see the Bears paying him. $19 million is way too much money. 18, too much money for a 34-year-old. If you can get him at 15, do it. 15 2-year contract, absolutely. I do see us going after Daquan Jones or Fletcher Cox here. Get a veteran D tackle. Coach up the youngins. Drafted Gervon Dexter and Zach Pickens last year. Get them some help. Get some depth at that 3 tech, and you'll be fine. And then, as we just talked about, that Shane Waldron system running a 12 and 13 set, I see us drafting it a tight end in the draft, but I also see us going after one in free agency. And who better than Noah Fant? Just played with Shane Waldron, gonna know the system, gonna help that tight end room get used to that system, and he's just a freak athlete. $6.8 million, not a bad contract, and he's 27. He's got room to grow. Sign him to a 3-year, get him till he's 30. Or you can sign Gerald Everett. Bigger tight end, a little bit slower, but I like his production. And then right guard competition, go draft one. Save some money. You don't need to bring in all that money just to compete with Nate Davis. Save and evaluate for next year. And then you get the big decision. Obviously, Caleb Williams coming into the draft versus Justin Fields currently has a lot more strengths. But there's one thing you're forgetting. If you trade one of these, if you trade Justin Fields, at best you get a late one. You're getting the 20th pick, at best, because Atlanta's not going to send you that 8th unless you trade 8 for 9. You're not getting it. Just not a straight up trade. You're not getting it. I think Justin Fields is a great quarterback, very talented, and I think he's just a straight up caliber 1 starting on any team. Other than your bona fide franchise guys, think Justin Fields can come in there and start for your team. Personally, if I were to make this decision, I'm trading. If Washington says, I'll give you 2 firsts, a second this year, and a player, whether that's Sam Cosmi, whether that's Terry McLaurin, whether that's Jonathan Allen, Daron Payne, or just any useful player to our lineup, so yeah. Or if they give us 2 firsts and 2 seconds and a third, I'd take that trade in a heartbeat. You take 2 firsts, 2 seconds and a third, yeah. Ryan Poles said in an interview that it would take at least 2 ones is the asking price. And I think there's a range where we move down. I don't see us moving down from the top 5. I see us at least trying to compete for Marvin Harrison if we do trade down. And if we do trade down, let's just say past 10, let's just say to the Raiders, they evaluated Caleb Williams and they're like, this is the dude. You got to send us Max Crosby in like 3 ones. If you want to move up that high. So, and I just don't see anybody doing that. So I think anybody in the top 5 is actually going to be able to send at least 2 ones. And then address the running back spot. Khalil Herbert, great running back. I see him as a backup. Great change of pace running back, but he's just not the solution for the running game coming forward. Like, we've had the number 1 rushing team. Imagine it with a superstar running back. Personally, if I was the Bears, this running back free agency is going to be, like, stacked. You got Tony Pollard, Saquon, Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry, Ezekiel Elliott. Not one of those. He's not a part of that group, but you got a ton of great running backs coming into free agency. Pay one of them. They're probably not even going to be able to command this. I mean, if Saquon's like, listen, I'll just take $10 million because nobody else wants to give him, and nobody else looks like a better team than the Bears at that spot, pay him. He is a little bit injury prone, but on the field, dude, like, he is the best player on there. Doesn't matter offensive, defensive side, he's on there. And if that doesn't happen, you got to go draft one. Whether it's Trey Benson or Blake Corum, I know a lot of people have Jonathan Brooks ranked ahead of both these guys. I don't personally. Blake Corum's just touchdown machine. Trey Benson's just a freak athlete at 6 foot. Can catch the ball, can run the ball, great vision. Just needs to be more patient. And I do worry about Blake Corum's use in college. But out of all these running backs, it's going to be freaking Saquon all day. And this would be my final lineup if I were to assess the Bears. Got Geno Stone at free safety. Got Jaquan Brisker at strong. TJ Edwards running a 4-2 set. So you got TJ Edwards, Tremaine, and you also got Jack Sanborn. You pay Jalen Johnson. You already got your cornerbacks. You got your cornerback set. You got your slot at Kyler Gordon. You got Tyreek Stevenson on the side, who had a great rookie year. And you bring in Daquan Jones to really set out that D-line. You need some pressure in there. He had 3 sacks this past season with the Bills. Great season. Need to create pressure up front. And Andrew Billings actually had a great season. So you got Danielle Hunter on the edge and Montez Sweat. Like, this could be a top 5 defense. I don't see a flaw in this defense other than a superstar D tackle. I don't see a flaw in this defense right now. Jaquan Brisker should have been Pro Bowl. TJ Edwards should have been there. Tyreek Stevenson, great year. Kyler Gordon was locked down at slot. Do I need to speak about Jalen Johnson? No, he had an all-pro season. So, and you move to the offensive side. You got DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, Noah Fant, and then possibly a drafted tight end. It's a big tight end class, so you can definitely go out and get somebody. There's a lot of names out there that I like, especially a guy out of Colorado State. Performed really well in the Shrine Bowl. But with that 9th pick, I'm taking Olu Fashanu. Really stood out at Penn State. Just great frame. He's a lot better than Braxton. And if you draft Olu, you can compete. You can say, yo, go through training camp. Let's see how they compete. And it's like, okay, Olu's that guy. You trade Braxton Jones, you can get a 3rd for him easily. You know what I mean? Teams need a serviceable left tackle. Too many. So you ship him off for a 3rd. As long as it's not in the division, I'm not pissed. So then you got Tevin Jenkins. Had a great year. You signed Tyler Beod's cheap contract. And you got Nate Davis, Darnell Wright. In the slot, you got Curtis Samuel. And then at Y, you got Marvin Harrison Jr. You got Justin Fields and Saquon. Imagine a read option. Yeah, who's going to cover that? So, that's the video. Thank you for tuning in, and as always, bear down.